Hey, welcome to Musings episode number 298. Oh, 2 more weeks and we hit 300.
Yes, and then we bring out the big celebration.
Yeah. We'll put a link and everybody can send us money. So,
Yeah, oh, there you go. I like it.
there we go.
$300 in celebration of 300.
Yeah. See, we are so much like idiocracy nowadays. It's like, you like money? I like money. We should hang out. So, I watched
Yep.
that. It was on. I just put it on. I was doing some stuff, and I was like, yeah, I forgot how stupidly funny this movie is.
And how accurate it became.
In a lot of ways, yes.
It was a prophetic creation.
Yeah. Failed in the theaters, stuff like that. So, but hey, we got a fun little show. We're going to talk a little Bad Batch again. Last of Us season finale. And
Yeah.
then you went and saw a movie that I have seen many people say sucked. And and it was one
you
I was
know what?
actually,
It's
and
so bad.
I was gonna go see it. And
I
then
know.
and it wasn't because I saw other posts before yours. And at that point I was like, oh God, I gotta see what Scott says. I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna waste my money and time.
Yeah. It was so bad. I sincerely forgot I went and saw it. Like when you just said that, like I didn't even put it in the teaser for today's episode. I've already wiped it from my mind. I mean, it's and I had so much hope for it. I was excited from the trailer, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But but yeah, so we got that. We got some Bad Batch. Pretty much, we got 3 great shows going on at the same time here between Mandalorian, Bad Batch, and Last of Us. So we've kind of been on the same topic all along, but they've all been high quality and worth talking about.
Well, we've bounced around a little bit too. Nice things they do other discussions as we get into
For
this.
sure.
We're trying not to bore everybody to death with our ramblings on the crap that we like. So
and then we also have our Kickstarter to update everyone on when we get to that.
Yeah, so we'll start off with Loringer Family Chiropractic Center PC, located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan. They take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital X-rays, massage therapy, orthotics by foot levelers, young living essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give them a call, 734-697-4244. Visit them online at LaringerFamilyChiropractic.com, or you can go right here to Facebook and look up Loringer Family Chiropractic Center PC. You'll see they have 739 likes, and maybe give them some more likes. And it looks like Scott right there. And then there's other people that I know that happen to like the page. So definitely check them out. And of course, call button 734-697-4244.
There you go. And then we also have Team Titans of Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize your home buying experience and selling experience, we never forget at the core, it's still people business. It's why we get so much of our core business truly does come from our sphere of influence, which is not just friends and family, but also our past clients. We have a very high return rate for people who've utilized our services in the past, which really shows where our how much quality we put into our deals. And there's a lot of big names out there that are pretty much just glorified call centers where they just pay insane amounts of money to pay for leads and literally do thousands of phone calls per day. And when you look at those teams, they put out the volume, much like a McDonald's. You can get a cheap burger, but is it quality? And is it something you really want to return to? And when you look at their rates, they depend on those cold calls to find their clientele. Not us. We have an amazing referral rate from all of our past clients and people who've used us in the past. So give us a call, 586-232-5144. Jill Webler and I, Scott Zambelli, are here for you.
Excellent. So, let's cover that real quick, that crappy movie you watched.
Let me pull it up. 65 movie. So the premise, I thought they had a killer premise. And
I love the trailer. The trailer is like, okay, this
great.
maybe want to go see it.
Yes, the trailer was great. The problem was this. Here, I'm sharing the official screen from Sony here. Didn't realize it was Sony. More and more, I just think Sony makes crappy movies. Generally speaking, they make crappy movies. They needed Marvel to fix their Spider-Man.
And it could be a lot of just, they bought up, like, Columbia TriStar years ago, things like that, and maybe they just got into the, uh, basically like the turn and burn movies. We're just going to crank them out and don't care
Yeah.
about
So
storytelling.
So, and I have a question I want to pose to you, Brett, and get your thoughts on it, but I'll give a quick review here of 65. So, the premise here is before humans were on the planet, 65 million years ago, humans actually existed outside this planet and outside the solar system. We actually existed on other planets and we were exploring the stars. And Adam Driver here is a pilot of a starship, a transporter ship. They're transporting they don't really say why, I don't recall, but he has his cargo is a bunch of people who are cryogenically frozen, like they're en route to another colony or something like that. Along the way, somehow they magically end up in a completely uncharted system that they've never heard of before. He's the only one awake, everyone else is cryogenically frozen. Somehow it goes way off course, but no one knows. Until he's actually in, the asteroid belt that's between Mars and Jupiter.
The Van Allen belt, I believe it's called.
No, the Van Allen belt is the radiation belts that surround the Earth. I forget what it's called, but anyways, somehow he's so far off course, but all this high-tech computers didn't know it until he was actually struck by asteroids. And so his ship is damaged and he crashes on Earth. That's the premise. So he is the first human on Earth. Without getting too much into the storyline, I'll just say he crashes on Earth. Only one other survivor left, and they're trying to get off the planet because he realizes a insanely huge asteroid is on its way to destroy the Earth. Which this is the time of dinosaurs, so this is the dinosaur-killing asteroid. It turns out he happens to land on Earth 12 hours before the biggest event in the Earth's history occurs. So that's basically it. So somehow the creators of this movie took two exciting franchises, Jurassic Park and Armageddon, combined them into one movie and made a complete snorefest. Don't know how they did that. It was quite a feat. The trailer is literally all the exciting scenes. My theory is I think they actually planned this to be a 2 to 2.5 hour movie. And when they got into it, they realized how much the special effects will cost to have a whole movie of amazing dinosaur scenes. So I think they cut out all the good parts to save money. That's my theory, because the storyline, it's very choppy. And it felt like, to me, key scenes were removed. And it felt like it would have been scenes that would have been thrilling. So that's my theory. Don't know if it's accurate or not, but the scenes they did have with dinosaurs, they did a good job. I think they took some creative license on some of the dinosaurs. Like, they were versions that I've never even thought of or seen. They look a little too sci-fi to me. They had some really good ones, though. Of course, you have the T-Rex and stuff, but I definitely do not foresee a sequel in the works for this. I think this is a one and done. Watching this movie, I feel like they tried to hire Keanu Reeves and couldn't get him. So they just had Adam Driver, which looks like we really need Keanu Reeves and Adam Driver in a movie together as brothers. Like, couldn't he totally be his brother?
Yeah, they could. I think, I think brother would be good because Keanu could actually play his dad, though.
Actually, yeah. Although they do look the same age, I think. But
that's because Keanu still looks very, very young. So
yeah, I like the quote I've heard before, through the whole movie, I just kept thinking this quote: Adam Driver looks like somebody trying to draw Keanu Reeves out of memory. He's like just distorted enough not to be Keanu Reeves, but it still looks like him.
Yeah.
So here's my question to you, Brett.
Okay.
Movies have really sucked for the past couple years here. And I do believe a part of it was COVID. I do believe that. However, my question to you is this: how much do you think the lack of quality in movies is because of the sheer competition we now have for hiring writers, storylines, things like that, between not just movies now, but also all the streaming services and everything else? Are the quality, talented writers now getting dispersed and watered down throughout?
I think that could be part of it. I think it's a valid statement. I think the biggest problem is not so much the writers, but it is those that oversee the productions. And this started pre-COVID with Warner Brothers, and how they've handled a lot of their franchise stuff with DC and a few other things. Looking at a couple of things, I googled 65 real quick to see get some basic information. I wanted to see the ratings. I mean, Rotten Tomato 37%, IMDb 5.7, Metacritic 40%. So it's down. It's way down low. So it's obviously the budget, though, according to this Google search, is only $45 million. So
Wow.
I think that what we have here is someone wrote a good story.
Yeah, the premise was great.
And when they go do this, they wanted to say, okay, we need a project for Adam Driver. We want an action product because we want him to look like an action guy because they want to put him in more action stuff down the road. That's my theory. Let's do this. Keep it low budget. Chop the script up. Just get the basic hits and get to the end of it, and that's it. I believe there probably was more story.
But how do you approve a dinosaur-based movie for $45 million? Like, there is no way there's enough. You need at least $100 million with the amount of VX shots you're going to have. So
the only thing I wonder is if they could have pulled a lot. It could have had that stuff ready to go from other productions, and there's a lot of tweaking stuff. I haven't seen it, so
yeah.
Quality, I haven't seen the quality. I mean, I'm sure it looks good.
The shots that they had were good.
Yeah.
They did have good shot for what they had. I just felt like I said, to me, it felt like chunks were taken out.
Yeah.
And that there were jumps in the story that would have had dinosaurs in them, you know, in those connecting points. That's what it felt like to me.
Right. And I think it's what we're seeing here. And it says, like I said, a $45 million budget on this. Let's see here. Over the weekend, it only pulled in 12 million. So obviously word of mouth got around fast. Creed 3 was still up there at 27 million. I believe that was their second week. Scream 6 opened at 44 million. Though I like the first couple of Screams, they're okay, but now it's become that ridiculous franchise that will do well at first and then drop. So try to see I'm on Box Office Mojo. I'm just trying to see if I get a little more information here. Yeah, it did about the same numbers almost every day for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sunday was a huge drop of 35% for 65. So Friday and Saturday did about the same, and then probably word of mouth is getting around. So it's going to die pretty quickly. But the thing was, like I said, it was an hour and a half long movie, and I was thinking, okay, are they doing? I was thinking there's going to be a lot more, just quick get into it and go through it. But it's, from what you're saying, and this is what other people said too, it feels like this should have been a longer movie.
It's a very drawn. What they do have is drawn out, slow. Yeah. It's too much. They could have, based on what they had, this could have easily been chopped down to a much smaller film, even than what it was. It really needed more action sequences. It wasn't a complex storyline. Ship crashes, man survives. They try to make it too emotional. So his backstory on his home planet is he has a daughter, who with an illness, cancer, whatever. We don't know what it is. I don't think they said what it is. The treatment's very expensive. So he's going on this run. As a pilot, these are like 2-year-long journeys that you're away from home. So he's leaving for 2 years to raise the money so his daughter can get the treatment while he's gone.
Yeah.
Turns out the treatment goes bad. She passes away while he's en route, which he's devastated, of course.
Right.
The one survivor, of course, is this little girl so he kind of has a bond with her because of the loss of his daughter. He's trying to save her. They make it so there's a language barrier. They can't talk. So it's him trying to teach her English and stuff. And it's just like, you're just trying. The point is, your ship crashed here. The escape ship is over there. You got to traverse this 12-kilometer pass, which I found amazing. These humans from 65 million years ago used kilometers. They have to go 12 kilometers away. It's like, really? Kilometers? Call it clicks, call it whatever, call it parsecs, whatever.
Usually it's something like that. It's like clicks or things like that. But, it's that right there. It can show some of the writing as being, depending on who wrote it. Now, it could be some of that is of like European descent, so they use
Could be.
kilometers.
But you would think you
I
would
mean,
change it.
well, yeah, no, but at the same time, since they're placing it here on Earth, you could say it's being translated, and that's what translated out
Yeah.
as.
Yeah,
So I
but they
mean,
made clear the translator was broken. So he can't
well,
the girl.
we're
So it's like
the
all this,
film is translating it for us, the viewer.
yeah. But they spend so much time of him trying to teach her to speak English and so they can communicate, and it's just too drawn out.
Well, that's where their budget cuts were.
Right.
To do a $45 million action movie like that, you have to have all this exposition that really you don't need.
Yeah, I think it
Realistically,
would have
they
been
been all speaking the same language
yeah.
or have universal translators.
Yeah. So to me, it would have made more sense since they were the first humans on Earth. Is they should have had it where an adult female survives, and it's them trying to start civilization. They came from a civilized society with high tech. They grew up on technology. Now they're thrown in this crazy world, and they have to figure out how to survive. Not it would be a great story of even us take a modern day person and throw them in the wilderness and try to survive. It's a compelling story because we're so used to modern day comforts.
Yeah.
Like even if you didn't want to make it all about just dinosaurs, the struggle to survive in a technology less world is a compelling story.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you learn how to start fire when you just push a button your whole life and you get it? How do you learn this stuff? How do you know how to tell if food is poisonous or not? So
see, in
that
some
by
ways,
itself could have been an exciting story.
yeah, in some ways, this is a little bit like the ending of the Battlestar Galactica series when they remade it. The end of that one was they got to Earth, realized there's humans already there, so they destroyed their technology and actually just blended in.
Yeah.
So which I thought was
it might have been even cool to have it where this is the post-apocalypse. So the asteroid already hit, if you want to go with that timeline. Asteroid just hit. And it's a world where dinosaurs are sparse. That way you don't have to have tons of them.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs are sparse, and dinosaurs are trying to figure out how to survive now in this new landscape. And it's a battle of survival. Which species is going to live the next 65 million years?
Right.
So anyways, I just thought I wasn't thrilled with it.
Well, and that's what I'm saying for everybody. It boils down to the story.
Yeah.
And being a 45-minute, it's a film that realistically I would have thought would have had like a $80 million budget or more. I mean, Jurassic World, the first one had like a $75 million budget. Yeah. And that's because they're not paying the people as much. That's where so most of those goes to that special effects, things like that. But yeah, I think it's just everything I said what I've read online since before your post, after your post originally. All I saw was, okay, this is just gonna suck.
Yeah.
And it's not worth spending even a couple hours going to the movies to watch it.
Yeah, honestly, if I could do it over again and if I got free tickets, I would have passed. Yeah. A half hour into the movie, I thought, maybe I need to get up and just get my money back. Then I thought, no, the trailer looked really good. I'm going to stick it out. It's got to get better. And it didn't. There were a couple really good action sequences, but I think they're all in the trailer. I really do.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's part of the problem with a lot of these films now is everything's in the trailer is the best. It's been like this for years in a lot of ways, but I think the problem is they're just kind of throwing crap on the wall and seeing what sticks. Yeah. And something like this, everything I'm reading on this leads me to believe is, okay, we'll do an action movie with Adam Driver to fulfill a contract because he's owed something. And so they do that, and then now they'll come out with something in a couple of years where he's going to be a bigger deal, a bigger budget, things like that. Or the other thing is they were like, we really don't like Adam Driver. Let's give him a crappy movie, and he's beholden to it. We'll ruin his career.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't understand. When they sign these actors, usually there's like a multiple picture deal, not necessarily multiple picture for the same franchise, but just multiple pictures in general. So he might have, when he signed on for something, they might have gave him a 3 or 6 picture deal. So now they got to find things to use up the contract.
Right. And I think he's a good actor. He's I didn't really watch that Girls or whatever it was that was on HBO that he really got known for. But other stuff I've seen him in, I've really liked him in. Yeah. I liked him even in the Star Wars stuff. The story sucked. It wasn't him. It was the story. The Dead Don't Die was a good one that he did with, I believe that was Bill Murray, yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
was, and that was kind of a post. It was kind of like a zombie type film that was a
Yeah.
little different. So
Yeah, I will say this about I do like Adam Driver. However, he's got to be careful with the roles he takes. As
mhm.
far as I've seen, he does not have emotional range. He's much like a Kevin Costner, very stoic. And if he gets the right role, it's perfect. It's awesome. Like Kevin Costner, when he plays the stoic roles, the like, in the various things he's done, he knows how to pick the roles that fit him.
Right.
You know, Adam Driver needs to be careful too. Don't pick roles that it's going to be a touchy feely, too emotional movie because he doesn't have that range from what I've seen. And
Yeah.
but Kylo Ren, is it fair to treat him on Kylo Ren? Well, to be honest, he had the same emotional range in this movie as when he was playing Kylo Ren. And when I see him in what was the other thing I seen him in? There was something else. Oh, the night one, the Last Duel.
Last Duel, yeah.
He just doesn't come across as an emotional, deep character. Now, maybe he just keeps choosing those roles, but I don't know.
Well, and that's
Not,
the thing.
not thrilled with it.
It's yeah. I think you're pretty fair on that. I mean, it's different actors have different range. They don't all have to have the same range, but you find the roles that fit and you enjoy the roles they do.
Yeah.
It's like he did a movie called Inside Llewyn Davis. I remember a little bit in that, and I thought he was fine. But again, not much range in terms of emotion.
Yeah.
But you don't need to have that to still be good. So I
Yeah,
think
you
that's
just got to
just
make sure you pick the right roles.
right. So it's just a matter of him figuring out these roles that work for him and everything else. And but yeah, I think it's again that Dead Don't Die I mentioned. He played a police officer in that. He again kind of just the same. He's got a little bit of range here and there, but he's not like over high or lower. And I mean, if he's crying and stuff like that and upset about something, you may have a hard time believing him.
Yeah, I think he can do anger well.
Yeah.
I think, it's just funny because lately I've been reading articles where he wants people to forget that he played Kylo Ren, but every role I see him in, he looks, sounds, and acts like Kylo Ren.
Well, he's doing a movie called Ferrari where he plays Enzo Ferrari.
Okay.
And I believe he's going to be a little more heavier, a little makeup and everything else. So that'll be different. But at
Okay.
the same time, though, this isn't based on a real life person that, anything I've ever seen on him. He's kind of just, he'll play it perfectly because it's basically how he is.
Yeah, he
So,
also did the one with Lady Gaga there, Gucci.
the House of Gucci. Yeah, I didn't
House
see
of
that
Gucci.
one.
I saw it. He did a good job, but also a very unemotional character. He's kind of flat emotionally. So if he can do range, he needs to break the mold then and start doing things with range to show it.
Yeah.
If he wants us to forget about Kylo Ren, but otherwise, find a post-apocalyptic police officer. Well, you probably have not much emotion left in you. So
well, he's got this here. It's a movie coming out called Megalopolis. This guy wants to rebuild New York after a disaster or something like that. You look how he's standing, and it's Adam Driver. There's shorter hair and that.
Yeah.
It's basically the same. He kind of is a very straight, type person on that. So I think it's those type of roles he needs to work on and figure out from there. But yeah, I don't think he's going to have huge range in terms of the emotional stuff. But I think he could definitely do a good action role. I mean, he was a Marine until I believe he got hurt. And then
I believe he hurt his back. I think I can't remember what he was. I believe it was in basic training. So I don't think he ever got deployed, but he got injured and was let go, an honorable discharge due to injury, however that's labeled.
Yeah.
So no fault of his own, but it happens.
Yeah.
But enough about 65. Don't go see it. It's not worth it.
Well, movie I did watch because it was Logan Lucky. I have to check that one out. I haven't seen that one. Kevin just said that. Hey, Kevin. I have to check that one out. I did watch because it popped up on Peacock, so I popped in the other night after work when I was getting ready to go to bed, and the new Puss in Boots movie.
I heard it's good.
It was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I heard the writing's great, the story's great.
Kind of mix of animation there. You got the 3D animation, but you get that almost that cell shade look at different times during action sequences, stuff like that. It started off the first, because this is actually almost 2 hours long. That's first like half an hour. I was like, okay, I heard this is good, so I stuck through it. It wasn't bad. And then, but once the story really took off, you got this neat little fairy tale thing dealing with the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, little Jack Horner, sat in a corner, was finger and thumb in a pie. He runs a pie place, and he's like a big gangster.
Hmm.
It was good, and it had a nice family friendly story in the end, and everything else. So
Yeah.
it was a neat way to revisit the Shrek universe a little bit.
Nice.
So it's on Peacock if you got Peacock to watch. It streams for free.
Sweet.
If you got the paid Peacock.
Before we get into our normal stuff here, I just want to give a shout out to Kevin's creatures and creators.
Yeah.
And I'm posting the link right now. So this, if you want to become a backer, we got 30 backers. Thank you for you guys. You guys are awesome. $1,400 raised. So we've hit the minimum goal, and we've got multiple covers that we're selling here. We got bunch of different artists who are part of the project.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see here some of the works inside, but there's about 50 illustrations, I believe, and about 100 pages or so to it. This is the soft cover book. This is the hardcover book. The hardcover is in limited supply, but why choose? There's packages where you can get both. So get both in a package so you can have the hard and soft cover.
Yep.
There's some examples of the inside. What's really cool about this is in pop culture, we know about the creatures that have been created over time that are very popular, but we don't know much about the people who created them. So people like Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, Victor Hugo, Charles Dickens, Frank L. Baum, and so many more, Bram Stoker. And there's a little biography on each of them that Kevin includes, along with some hand-drawn portraits of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really fun book. Go check it out. These are some of the different reward packages. If you love original art, he's got some amazing deals where you get original art along with the book. So go check it out. Go to the link. Got to point this one out. This is amazing. It's a hand-drawn artwork from Dave Wachter. Am I saying that right? Wachter?
I believe so, yep.
A Frankenstein. I love that depiction. Looks sweet. And then this is the Cthulhu artwork, the original art used on the cover. That one's $250. If you don't know who Dave Wachter is, he's very well established. And to have it, if you were to see him at a show and commission him to do something like this, it would be far more than $250.
Oh yeah.
So go check that out. And then you got all the different add-ons you can do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Kevin got to know him a few years ago, so he talked to him about this. I think he's had his artwork for a little while. So, but yeah, I think it's a great way, especially for art collectors. If you're looking for some cool comic art, that's the way to go.
For sure.
So,
and this will be our 13th Kickstarter as Bardstone, and then plus Kevin and I have some of our own individual crowdfunding campaigns. Brett has a number of books he's put out. We know how to put books together. We know how to put them out. All 12 of our joint Kickstarters and even our individual ones. I just don't know the number off the top of our heads. Every single one, we have hit our goals. We have fully funded, and we have delivered on time, not a single one late. So, we've got this. In this book, Kevin is fully done with it. It's just basically getting the orders. Once he knows the quantities, he can place the order, and he'll be shipping really quickly.
Yeah, the only thing he knows quantities on right now is there is only going to be 50 of the hardcover. Yes. So it is very limited. The soft cover will be unlimited, and even after the initial purchase, you'll be able to continue to buy that. You'll be able through his website or Amazon. So, but yeah, so that's cool. And hey, we need 20 more people, $300. That gets us 2 stretch goals right there.
And there's only 1 week left.
So everybody can get some free stuff. We only got 1 week left. So, for those that like to wait till Christmas, it's here. Christmas is here. Buy now. So, cool.
BUY now, not BYE now. Goodbye now.
Yeah. I didn't say goodbye. I said buy now. Buy now.
That's what I mean. Stupid joke. Never mind.
Shop smart. Shop Bardstone.
Yeah, there you go. So we got three shows to cover here. We have a finale of Last of Us. We have last week's Mandalorian. We're not talking about this week's, but last week's, and then also last week's Bad Batch. Where would you like to start?
Let's start with Last of Us. Let's get that out the way.
Season finale.
Yeah, because that one, we may talk a little bit about it. That was, I got to tell you, my only concern with this series is that this first season covered the entire first game.
Yes.
And my understanding is only 2, maybe a third game coming out. So it's kind of like one of those things where I'm like, okay, if they're going to do that, then we got 2 seasons of the show and then it's done. Otherwise, then they have to create something new. And it sounds
Yeah.
like the second game had a lot more of a definitive ending, some way. So
So what I'm reading, what I read yesterday
yeah,
is now they haven't definitively said there's not any more Last of Us games coming out. But what
no,
they did say is they have taken on another major project. So it sounds like if there is going to be a part 3, it's going to have to wait, is the way they made it sound. Now, regarding season 2 of the video game or part 2, I don't know how they called it, but they did say they plan on extending that story out over multiple seasons. So
see,
they're
that's
not going
kind of
to
my
pick one.
thought was at the end of this one, I was like, okay, they got through this initial thing and it set up these characters now and set up the world. And, we're giving spoilers if you haven't seen it. Hopefully you've seen it, but they get to where the Fireflies are, they get to the hospital. And so now that they can try to figure out how to synthesize her to create the serum to cure everybody, basically.
What worries me about this series is this.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch the side by side comparisons of the show and the game, it is shot for shot exact.
Yes.
Like exact. The dialogue, everything's exact. So if they're going to take the next video game, part 2, and extend it into multiple seasons, that means the creators of the show are going to have to start writing original content. And, look what happened with Game of Thrones. As soon as the creators went off content, it fell apart. And without these creators flexing their creative muscles within this universe and staying so close to the game, are they going to be able to carry the weight of this series on original content within the series? That's what I wonder.
The main couple guys that are the creators behind this, I believe, are also tied into the game. So I'm thinking that
they are.
That was my assumption based on how they talked about it.
Okay.
So or if they didn't work on the game itself, they were working with the guys that created the game story, anyways.
Yeah.
So let me see who created it. My thought is, and I thought this at the end, it's like, okay, so the only way to keep this going, is they're gonna have to go off book at this point.
Yeah.
And go from there. So Neil Druckmann was the writer of, and also a director on the game. And then you got the main guys here. It looks like Jacob Minkoff, Richard Cambier, and Amelia Schatz. They must have worked on the game or something. But yeah, there's even talk with the creator of the game, and that my thing is they're gonna have to talk with them about extent. It's like the second episode, the one with the couple guys, that was completely expanded from the game, and
right.
I didn't feel, and again, you and I both agree that it didn't really propel the story itself forward of Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
It was written, dialogue was fine. They did a good job writing it, I would say, but it didn't do anything for me to progress the story. So now I don't want to get a bunch of one-shot episodes that don't progress an overall story, but now they need to start setting up the different benchmarks. Like, okay, we're in the game would be the first benchmark for this next season, and how can they expand around that without rushing it, as well as without making it trivial where you have half the episodes are just filler episodes because they need to fill 10 episodes.
Well, and the other issue I have is when they did get a chance to go off book, they've made it clear in interviews. They've outright said that it was agenda driven. They wanted to force audience members to watch a specific thing that they wanted to watch. And what's her name there, who plays Ellie?
Yeah,
she's on record saying that if they don't like that, they're going to have to get used to it because there's going to be way more in season 2. So it does worry me that they're going to try to hijack this, and which is a very typical thing for certain people of certain persuasions, to hijack franchises to push narratives. It's one thing if it's part of a storyline; it's another to push it.
Well, that's the whole thing. Whenever you see in anything, when they are constantly trying to push a narrative, story suffers, quality suffers. And while you may have some people that go, "Oh my God, it was so brave of them to do this. It was so great that we finally get to see this." It's like, but the story sucked. Are you really helping?
Oh no, it was great.
if you wanting to help a cause per se, are you really helping a cause by having something that sucks?
Right.
And those that already support that cause are going, but the rest is going, well, this sucked. I don't buy anything you're saying here, and move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Forced inclusion does not. You can usually tell it's forced.
Yeah.
Is the thing, and make a good story. So, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I mean, the show has been compelling to me. I've really enjoyed this series.
Yeah.
They it's not easy to have a slow. This is an action show, but it moves very slow, and somehow still makes you feel like it's moved quickly.
Well, then you get an
Because
episode
it's
like this last one though that I felt like it was over quick. I had to look at the time. I was like, this wasn't no
right.
50 minutes. And it was like, I felt like
Yeah.
it was 20 minutes. It was done because it was so good. I was just so engrossed in the whole thing.
Yeah. They did an amazing job with it. Absolutely love it. But once again, this is straight from the game. So, we'll see where it goes. But I'm liking where it is. A really cool nod. Once again, they're really trying hard to include as many elements of the real game as possible. The actress who plays Ellie in the video games played the live action version of Ellie's mom. We see her origin story.
And she
And
actually looked like she could have been Bella
they
Ramsey.
look related.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, what's her name? Amy Johnson. She's in a
Something
lot
like
of
that, yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But she's the voice actress of Ellie in the games. So that was cool to find a way to bring her into
And
this.
they've done that, and they did it within the episode in Kansas City with the one guy who was in the 2 episodes. He played the one guy's voice, and he got to actually be live action on that. So,
Yeah. Now,
was it
did you see?
Troy Baker who played? No, Jeffrey Pierce who played Tommy got to play live action versions in that. So,
Yeah, and then I believe in the last episode, the guy she hits in the throat with the machete before dealing with the main bad guy.
yeah.
I believe he plays the voice of Joel in the video games.
Yeah, that's Troy Baker. Yeah, let me pull him up. I just pulled up the credits on this, and
Or was that the one
here.
that played Tommy?
He played James. He played James in The Last of Us.
Okay.
So, yeah, Tommy was the guy from Kansas City, had the beard.
Yeah, the brother, Joel's brother.
No, he was the guy that was trying to kill them in Kansas City.
Oh, which one was Kansas City? Was that where Catherine was?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Too many cities. That's they do keep it moving, which I think was a mistake Walking Dead did. They were too stationary.
Yeah,
it does definitely keep the move, changing the scenery and the seasons too. They progressed time and did that, so it kept it moving, kept the story flowing. They've really done a good job. It's I think it's always a compelling story, which whenever you have a strong father figure story, it's very powerful. I think that's why Liam Neeson's whole career is trying to recreate the movie Taken, because there is something about a father's wrath that is so powerful and intriguing. And I think especially in our modern society, I think people are craving a father figure because we've so demasculated men. And Joel is that father figure, and he's lost a daughter, and he's taken Ellie. You see the growth in their relationship, especially the ending of the last one where he calls her baby girl and he's holding her. That's a powerful moment because you see how he let the walls down. And then you can see at the beginning of this episode how much he really he's allowed himself to emotionally attach to her.
Well, and that's the thing. And the thing too is with the timeline of this first season, it covers roughly almost 2 years, you would say. There's a lot of time.
At least
in
a
there.
year and a half. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say 2 years. Maybe
so there's a lot of growth on her part and his part in terms of when they say, hey, 3 months later, so much later, it's like during that time they're together the whole time, so that it made sense for that. But yeah, I was looking up this episodes here. The guy that created the game, Neil Druckmann, and Craig Mazin, who did the show here, they're writing all the episodes together. So that lends me hope that even though there may be some agenda stuff there, hopefully they're trying to force, they're at least trying to write a good story. And that's gonna be my thing, is if the stories, it's like Walking Dead, I stopped watching it because the stories got bad. Writing is everything.
And they prolonged it too long. Like that's where success can be your enemy.
Yeah.
Like with here, they probably felt this was a safe bet. Like, okay, we'll do 2 seasons. We got 2. We'll stick to the game. But then they saw how huge the first season was. Like, oh, can we stretch the next one over the course of like a couple more seasons?
Yeah.
Like, if they knew it was going to be this big of a success, I bet they would have stretched the first game into 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Is what my bet is, because they could have easily made a nice cliffhanger with Kansas City, and then have the set.
I thought they were going to spend several episodes in Kansas City, and that was going to be the cliffhanger, was them getting out of there, and then finish off the last half what we saw. But
I think it could have been 2 seasons with the content they had.
Yeah. So now we'll see where they go from there, stuff like that. I think though it's Annie Wershing passed away, and she was the voice of Tess originally in the game, and it's a shame that she was sick, and she's one of the ones that couldn't be in the series here, but she's a good actress. Liked her in a few different things but so I guess we'll see. I liked it. I love the whole hospital scene when Joel goes to rescue Ellie. It was very kind of action movie type. You mentioned like taking stuff like that. Joel has a very particular set of skills, and he unleashed whoop ass on everybody.
For sure.
And he did not take any prisoners either.
Quick side note too. You mentioned Annie Wershing, and that brings up so Picard season 3 is getting good reviews from people online. I'm seeing. So I went back and based on your account of season 2, I decided, I'm going to give season 2 a chance. I hated episode 1 of season 2 so much, I just abandoned it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the second episode. I'm loving the season 2 of Picard now. Mm-hmm. Like the storyline, and we got Annie Wershing in there as the Borg Queen.
Yes, she was fantastic.
Oh, she's phenomenal, and she was very sick at that time. Yeah. But she did a phenomenal job. So I'm about halfway through season 2 of Picard right now, on my way to the 3rd. So I'm glad I went back to it. The first episode I just thought was so awful for the season. I'm just like, I don't even want to see this anymore. Mm-hmm. So, but they definitely recovered after that.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't crazy about the first episode last season with Pride either, and then I gave it another shot because I liked the first season, and then it started getting better and it's better, and it really took off from there pretty good. Yeah. I liked some of the different characters they've introduced. We're into season 3 now, and Picard is more of a next generation reunion. It's the final season. They've already announced that, so we know everything they're doing is going to wrap up everything within it. Yeah. So, and it's a little different how they're handling some things and doing the storytelling. I don't want to give too much since you haven't seen it. We'll wait till you get caught up. We'll do like a review of the entire season when it's done.
Yeah. So it definitely got better. And we'll see where it goes. But I like time travel storylines. I like that they even paid homage to Kirk and the Enterprise. They're like, well, how are we going to go back in time? Q changes the past. Yep. How are we going to do that? Well, Kirk did it a few times on the Enterprise, and like, but they had Spock. like Spock, like no other Vulcan is smart enough, only Spock. And it's like, well, we got the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
In other Star Trek news, not that I'll watch it, but next season of Discovery will be next year, and it's the last season.
Last season, yeah.
Which is good. I'm looking forward to season 2 of Strange New Worlds.
I would like to see a re-edit of Discovery and just cut out all the Michael Burnham scenes, and I think it'll be a far superior series.
Well, I liked it during season. I wasn't going to watch it, but season 2.
Season 2 saved it,
and that's when they introduced Pike and everything else. They're doing created the whole spinoff for
brought Spock back. I did not like the storyline of making Spock her brother.
I've never liked that aspect of it.
It just doesn't fit. Like even in this, when they mentioned Picard is talking to Q, and they're talking about when Sarek died and his son, and like there's no mention of a daughter.
Yeah,
like so it just didn't make sense to me.
Well, the whole thing with Discovery was, again, people taking existing franchise and wanting to reinvent it and twist it up a little bit because they think they can do something better instead of creating their own.
Right.
And it's like, you want to create something based around a character like Michael Burnham? Great. Don't do it. And then they lost me with the time jump to the future. Yeah. And then you get there and there's no Starfleet. It's all been destroyed.
Yeah.
They have the burn. And it was
the series would have been better if they started it in the future and did a time jump back to the present as we know it for the Star Trek timeline,
Right.
and they could have intersected with Pike and them then. Like that would have made more sense with the technology they had on the
Yeah.
ship. And
Because the first season with those Klingons they introduced, they were like, "Oh, these are supposed to be the original Klingons." I'm like, "No, you didn't even do
No.
them right." So it
No.
just all felt forced. And then they were trying to say it's all in the same timeline as Kirk, Spock, and all that stuff of the original series. So I'm like, okay, now you're just bastardizing the original series.
Now the best all-time
Mhm.
Star Trek moment regarding the different types of Klingons was when the Next Generation crew goes back in time. They're on the Enterprise. You got Kirk talking at the bar there, and then the table of the Viking. They were inside the episode where the the Klingons are there, but they look like humans because the original Klingons in the original series look like humans.
Right.
And
Which
so
they explained later on in different side stories, stuff like that.
Right.
That the Klingons had captured humans and had mated with them to create human-like versions that weren't as
yeah.
Scary. So as they started to interact,
But in the episode, they're like, "Oh, these Vulcans sent you a drink," or I forget what it was, but they're like, "Vulcans, where?" They're like, "Over there," and they all look. Then they look at Worf, and he's like,
you mean Klingons?
"It's embarrassing to talk about."
Yeah.
He's like, "They are Klingons, but we don't like to talk about it."
Yeah.
Something like that. That was hilarious. A hilarious way of just acknowledging the change without trying to change anything.
Right.
So, anyway, so yeah, Picard, I'm liking it so far.
Well, good. We're good.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying it. There's a new episode tomorrow I'll be watching. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I did finish up the series for Poker Face.
Oh,
That ended last week, real quick. I'm not going to touch on that. There's going to be a second season. Kind of a little bit more of the same, but now they got a different bad person. And it sounds like it's Rhea Perlman. So that's the voice that was on the phone. So
oh, also still.
yeah. So
Bad Batch.
Yeah. So we got Bad Batch last week's
Yeah.
episode. They're really, it's between that and Mandalorian, they're really kind of we were talking before we got on here real quick. They've been, and they don't Bad Batch, of course, deals with clones because it is the clones.
Right.
And so they're dealing with the whole cloning aspect, and the cloning that we saw took place in the sequel movies, 7, 8, 9, with the Emperor cloning stuff. So we've been hearing a lot of that between the different shows at different times. Bad Batch has got the actual Kaminoans that they've captured, and they're working on setting those up. And Mandalorian has dealt with a couple of people, different doctors and stuff like that deals with different cloning too that we saw in the first couple seasons. And so and we're starting to see stuff kind of cross a little bit on that. But this one I like for Bad Batch was another Crosshair episode that really is bringing his character back around.
Yeah, I love what they've done here because you have the main group, which kind of had a quick awakening as to what the Empire was about, and they broke away. But Crosshair, originally we thought the programming for Order 66 kicked in, but what we later find out is, oh no, the program wasn't on him either. This was all willfully done. And he was like all in for the Empire. And so we're seeing a longer redemption arc developing with him over these multiple seasons. And
Yes.
I like where it's going. He's kind of they're kind of, if you go with the Bible, you got Saul, who becomes Paul, and he was a great persecutor of the Christians. Then he has the road to Damascus moment with Jesus, and then he becomes an apostle. Well, I think kind of this was the Damascus moment, was this episode where his eyes are opened to what the Empire is and realizes he truly is disposable in their eyes.
So, well, yeah, they set him up as, he would follow because that's the orders. That's what you do. He didn't care that the regime changed. For him, it was all the same.
Yeah, and orders are orders, no matter who's giving them.
Right. And then he meets this new guy that's running this mission.
His name's Mayday.
It's actually about the Imperial guy, Lieutenant Noble.
Oh, the commander or whatever, lieutenant.
Yeah. And that guy starts setting up, and of course, none of them want to be called. The Imperial people don't want to call them by their names they've given themselves. They only want to refer to them as their numbers.
Yeah.
Which, not giving too much spoilers, but that takes place in today's Mandalorian as well, with people being referenced by numbers, not names. So
Yeah.
I like the little subtleties we're seeing like that between the two series and that. But yeah, so this guy, this lieutenant, who's he's kind of he's definitely full on Imperial. He's all for everything, and he's also one that's trying to, as with all Imperial officers, make a name for themselves.
It also brings up an interesting real life issue that happens when you have a generation of warriors and they've spent their life fighting and battling. How do you refit into society? The clones, they're aging twice as fast as normal people, so they're now getting older and they're being decommissioned. They're no longer needed as soldiers. They're being replaced by stormtroopers. What do you do with that population? And they're like bringing up issues like, do we have to create a fund to take care of these people? Or, they don't want to leave. They're like, we're soldiers. We can't just retire. We're made for battle. And so it's an interesting thing that they're not going deep into it, but they're touching on the surface of it. And I think it's an interesting topic to explore.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing of the premise of the episode, though, is they had to go to this planet and they're protecting crates. We find out the crates are full of new stormtrooper armor based on Ralph McQuarrie's original designs from when they were designing that stuff pre New Hope.
New Hope, yeah.
So they're using that, which I love that they go back and get McQuarrie's old stuff like that was never used, and they're using it in this different situations like this.
Now, what my feeling was, I want to see what your feeling is. Like, I feel like they're sending clones on these type assignments with the intention of killing them off. Like, we're just going to give them stupid tasks in the middle of nowhere and not give them reinforcements, so they just die off, so we don't have to deal with the retirement issue.
Well, I feel that's exactly what it is. These are all, it's like we got a bunch of clones that got killed here. The one clone, it was a Mayday, right?
Mayday.
Along with Crosshair, basically left for dead. They come back in there, and once the lieutenant go, oh well, get back to work, and because they're expendable. They are not real people to them. They're not even treated as slaves. They are really treated as less than droids.
They're treated as a hammer you just discard if it breaks.
Exactly. It's a tool that they don't care anything about. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting to see how they're doing this, and it's bringing about this whole story of what happened to the clones, and that's the whole thing. Is it's always been talked about because originally. So for years, Steve, to say people think that from A New Hope, Empire, and all that stormtroopers were all clones. They weren't.
Right.
At that point, the clones had been eradicated or decommissioned. Right. And as we know from Rebels and a few other things, when we see like Captain Rex and all that stuff, they are definitely a lot older in just a few years. So they, again, aging twice as fast. And and they've made canon the guy in Return of the Jedi that looked like how they made Captain Rex. So they've made that Captain Rex without him having a real name. They could do that. But at that point, he's definitely, would be around 60 years old or whatever, white beard and everything else. So and as a seasoned veteran, realistically, was only probably about 25, 30 years old.
Right.
So, but yeah, so they're killing them off.
Yeah. So we'll see where things go in the storyline. They're introducing different elements, like Brett said, that are, you can tell they're leading the storyline to tie into the whole Emperor cloning process. Mm-hmm. And then we got Mandalorian, which we're going to talk about pretty soon, that also is starting to bring in these elements.
Yes. Well, and that's what it is. We start off with, in fact, we can just switch right over to that.
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian is, we had chapter 18 last week. And now we have the Mandalorian and Grogu are heading on a mission to bathe in the living waters of the mines of the Mandalore. So it was a good episode. Why don't you talk a little about that?
Yeah, so the Mandalorian is still on his redemption journey, he took his helmet off, and so the only redemption is to go bathe in the living waters in the mines of Mandalore, which by all accounts, the entire planet is poisoned. Nobody can enter it. You will die. It's instant death. They're saying it's cursed. A lot of the lies and myths are uncovered in this episode because first of all, there's this artifact that he has, and he's like, well, if the planet's poisoned, how did somebody take this artifact off the planet? So he's like, I'm going to go and bathe and redeem myself. So he goes. First of all, we find out Bo-Katan just sits on her chair all day long in an empty house, empty castle.
Yeah, we learned that from episode 1. Yeah,
She's like this, just sitting in her chair and with her leg up. Somebody did a funny skit, like showing Bo-Katan. She's like just in like a hoodie and sweats. And she's like, what should I do today? All of a sudden she hears the Mando ship. And she's like, oh, crap. So she hurry up and gets everything on. She's like, how do I sit on this chair to look like cool? And then she's like, I'll sit like this. And then he walks in. Like, because she's not just sitting this way all day long. But anyways, so she's like, she's on a moon of Mandalore that she lives on. And she also believes the planet's poisoned and can't go down there. So, of course, he's going down there. Introduce some cool characters there, some danger. I'll kind of go faster here. And then, of course, he needs to be saved. So then Baby Yoda, Grogu, goes, gets her. She comes, saves him. And main thing is she's a non-believer of the myths, even though she was she was the next head of the royal family and all this stuff. She lived on the planet, all this stuff. She didn't believe in the beliefs that the waters were healing and
she didn't believe in they remove. You don't ever remove your helmet, and
right.
She believed in the creed, though. The creed was because she talked about she took the creed when she was younger, but it was but it was not the same way this group thinks in terms of how the creed is enforced.
Yeah, there's a difference between saying words and living it out. And I think that's kind of the journey. I think that's the journey they're putting her on. We'll see where things go. But another big thing was how all of this stuff is just mythology that they believe on for their culture. And the big thing was the mythosaur, the skull, that is their symbol, and how that's just a story. And when the Mandalorian goes into the waters, he sinks really fast.
Yep.
And she goes down to save him, and on the way up, she sees the mythosaur is real.
Yep.
It's
a huge creature. You see him in there, and he's in the living waters, and you can even see when the water itself looks a little different than normal water. So there's something definitely going on there.
Yeah. Now they did mention in this week's episode. I'll just mention, like he's like, that was way deeper than I thought, because he goes to take a step and just plummets.
Yeah.
Because his Beskar is so heavy But she does mention that it used to be just walking level, but when the bombs from the Empire came, they must have opened a fissure into the depths,
which is where the original mythosaur lives. So
right, I did think it was funny too how just like on Earth. She's like, well, let me read the plaque for you, like, because you could tell it used to be a tourist location for the Mandalorians, and she reads the plaque about here's the location of the mythosaur and the first Mandalore. So it was funny to have plaques on the wall.
Yeah, no, it was pretty funny on that. And then it's also what we saw was when he's fighting Din's fighting off of these creatures, he's wielding the Darksaber, and he still has a hard time lifting it.
Yeah.
Now she comes to save him. She picks it up, and she has no problem lifting it.
Yeah. So she understands how the energy of the energy, the way it was described is it'll fight you.
Yeah.
So you got to know how to flow with it.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is that was the actual original concept for lightsabers. So when you see A New Hope, they're always holding it with two hands, because it's the laws of physics of for every action is an equal and opposite reaction. So George Lucas's original concept of lightsabers was there was so much energy coming out, it would want to push down. So it would feel like a very heavy sword that you would have to counterbalance. Now, of course, as Star Wars developed, now there's, one hand twirling and all this. So that's kind of gone away, but they've transferred that, I feel, to the Darksaber.
And I think a lot of it had to tie in with use of the Force too for the Jedis. Is even though there's a lot of power and force, that with the Force they can control it more. Where Din doesn't have Force capabilities, but she, like I said, she understands how it works. So she's the physics aspect of it. She understands.
Now, of course, the real life explanation is by the time Empire Strikes Back came out, George Lucas had enough money to hire stuntmen who knew how to fight. He didn't have to rely on Alec Guinness to be his own stunt person.
Right.
Who only knew two moves.
Yep.
So
So, but yeah, last week's episode was great. I loved it. It
Yeah.
ends up, like I said, with Bo-Katan rescuing Jaren, and it goes to credits. So this week takes place right from there. So we'll talk about that next week.
So some things to keep in mind too
Yeah.
for this episode moving forward. We're still isn't Sabine Wren supposed to be in this season, or is she in Ahsoka?
I believe she's in Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, okay. Well, we have seen the space whales when they were in hyperspace. We saw that.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Rebel series, we know Ezra was whisked away on those things, and Thrawn too. Thrawn and Ezra were whisked away on those space whales.
Yeah.
So I don't think they just showed those gratuitously. I have a feeling it's going to somehow tie in and then move into the Ahsoka series. Hence, we've got Ezra, who's from Rebels. We got the space whales that came from Rebels. We've got Sabine Wren, who's supposed to be coming back, who was in Rebels. So we're seeing a lot of Rebels tie-ins coming in.
Yeah, and Ahsoka's supposed to be the wrap-up of what we saw at the end of Rebels when her and Sabine were supposed to go off, try to find Ezra.
Yes.
So that ties into everything we've seen so far. And I think we'll see some more tie-ins through Mandalorian to lead into the Ahsoka series. I think they are going to play off each other, which is a great way to continue to build this post-Jedi, pre-Force Awakens era of the universe. So
yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yeah.
But loving it.
it's very good.
All of these have been very enjoyable. I've been liking these series. Sad to see Last of Us is going on hiatus now until we have whenever season 2 comes out.
Yep,
But
it'll probably be. I think it'll be at least a year and a half.
Yeah.
So because it's not, I don't think they haven't started production yet on that. So I was again waiting to see how well it did. But I know it's supposed to be renewed, and so now it's a matter of them writing the scripts and then getting ready to production and fitting everybody's schedule. Because when I turn around, Pedro Pascal is popping up in somewhere.
He's doing well.
Yeah.
Did you see the? I think it's Variety. I forget who does it. They hook the celebrity up to the lie detector test and ask them questions.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, they hook Pedro Pascal up and they ask him, "Do you think you're a heartthrob?" And he's like, "No." And the guy's like, "He's lying." He's like, "Okay, I do." And then they're like, "Is it hard to be a heartthrob?" He's like, "No." And then they're like, when you're feeling down, do you secretly go online to look up positive comments about yourself? And he's like, "I do." and they're like, "What's your favorite site?" He's like, you could tell he's just like, no. It's like, "Oh, this is gonna be bad." He's like, "I go to Pedro Pascal's fan page and read all the comments."
Yeah. Well, he's got another movie coming out called Tropico. That's I believe that's based on the video game series.
I've never seen it, but
It's pre-production. So
because of not that, I mean, with Pedro Pascal, because I really do enjoy him as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm interested in Narcos. I've never watched that series before. Have you ever watched it?
I watched. Yeah, I watched the one with I think it was the one he was season he was in. I watched that. It was good. I didn't realize it was him.
Right.
I never thought
he was
about
unknown
that,
at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely interested in watching that now, just because I really enjoy him as an actor.
Yeah, I've gotten like about he played Javier Pena over 3 years. So, yeah, so I watched when I watched the first couple seasons. So he was in that and he was good. Again, I didn't know who he was then. I mean, he's been around for quite a while acting. So we've only really got to know him since Mandalorian really propelled him up. And so hopefully he's keep that in mind.
Well, Game of Thrones was really where the very first time he really went big was Game of Thrones, but he's been on Mandalorian. He's got Last of Us now. Well, he was on Wonder Woman. I wasn't crazy about that role.
Well, the whole movie sucked, but that was
that wasn't his fault. Yeah. But he definitely showed range there. He was a completely different character there than what he plays in other things.
Well, he played Whiskey and Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which was the sequel to
Kingsman. That's right.
He
does have a very Burt Reynolds look.
Yeah.
If they ever remake any Burt Reynolds movie, he can do the mustache and look just like Burt.
Yeah. And that'd be funny to see. It'd be tough to do Smokey and the Bandit that was because technology.
You could do Cannonball Run.
But a Cannonball Run, or they could go to Sharky's Machine, or heck, you know what they could do is they need to remake Hooper, where he was the stuntman. Mm-hmm. And then they got to have Pedro Pascal playing the Burt Reynolds role.
Yeah.
And then we need to find an Adam West style washed up actor who everybody knows that could play the Adam West washed up actor role.
Well, and in the Kingsman movie, he totally was a Burt Reynolds character.
Yes.
I mean, he had the mustache and the hat, and it was Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
You know, so. But yeah, I look forward to seeing where his career goes. I think we're going to see a lot of great stuff from him.
I think so. He's definitely. I think besides the Mandalorian, The Last of Us really propelled him up there. So I think we'll see a lot more. So, and like I said, this last episode, of Last of Us, shows he can really come across as a good, tough redeemer.
Yeah,
you know?
He definitely needs to, though. The next role he chooses has to not be escorting a magical child to some safe location.
Get out of that routine.
Might get typecasted.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think we're at the end of the show.
Yeah, I covered everything today. Hope everybody enjoyed it and enjoyed the coverings we did here. And join us next week. We'll talk more stuff of that. We'll talk a little, of course, more Bad Batch of Mandalorian next week. No Last of Us. We'll see what else we catch this week. Shazam opens this week. I might try to go see that. Hopefully it's good. I like the first one. The second one's getting good reviews, but I don't always trust that. So because
it's now revealed through the trailer, Gal Gadot is supposed to be in it as Wonder Woman. That was shown in the trailers.
Yeah, that was a spoiler. That was not meant to be in the trailers, but again, as the director said,
they didn't mean to put it in there.
No, the director. Well, no. That's the director didn't want it. That was a studio decision because
got it.
They're probably thinking, we throw her in there, then maybe people will show up. It's like,
well, they probably realize since they announced this whole thread of the DC universe is gone. A lot of people are like, well, do I want to bother seeing it then?
I'm seeing it because I liked the first one, and I felt that it wasn't so much in their DC EU
as much as a Marvel movie.
It was a standalone movie. It was just
a standalone Marvel movie.
Pretty much, yeah. Because they did it right. So, so we'll see. I'm going to try to go see that. And then Sunday, I'm going to a concert. I'm going to go see the Dolly Rots are here in Detroit. Going to go see them in Hamtramck. One of my favorite bands. So, get a chance to see them after a few years and a bunch of other stuff. So I'll have some fun stuff to talk about next week. So,
very good.
See y'all later. Bye.